Alright folks, I'm out here today going to go ahead and do a test because of a video I recently watched on another channel on a drywall test, and it got me thinking about these news stories you see of kids that are, you know, in their house playing in their room or whatever, and a stray bullet from a shooting outside comes through the walls and hits them, and they're either injured or die from it. And although I appreciated seeing the drywall test that Grand Thumb did, I wanted to know more of what an exterior wall would stop. So what I did was I built myself two sections of wall. They're both 2x4. I used steel siding, plywood, standard 2x4s. Even though I know many walls now are 2x6, I went ahead and just built a 2x4 wall because I figured it wouldn't make that big of a difference. And on the first one, I just did 5/8 sheetrock on the inside. It's got, you know, poly, like I said, steel siding, plywood, poly, the gap. There is insulation in there. And then the sheetrock. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to see about the impact here on the second piece of plywood, and then see if it makes it to the third one, or if the various calibers are stopped by that first wall. And then what I did is I built a second wall, as you can see over here. Same construction pretty much. There's steel, there's a layer of plywood, 2x4 wall. But on this one I added a 1/2 inch of plywood to the inside, which would be pretty cheap to do for most houses. At the current price of plywood, which is about $11 a sheet, you could sheet the inside of a house, at least facing your most dangerous areas if you were in an inner city, pretty cheaply, and then put the sheetrock over it like you can see I did here. And then behind it I've got another layer of plywood to just see where the impacts happen and if it gets through all the way to the backstop. And then last, what I did was I'm going to do a plywood penetration test for various calibers. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 layers of, I think it's 5/8 plywood, and I'm going to shoot, and I'm going to see how many layers it'll go through. I'm going to add a 5th right in front of the backstop over there, and I'm going to shoot all 3 of these with 22 pistol. I'll probably be using my Beretta Neo for that. I'm going to shoot it with a 380. I'm going to shoot it with a 9mm because that's probably your most common caliber that's going to be out there. And then I'm also going to hit it with a 38 special and a 357 for sure. And then when I'm all done, I may go ahead and try a couple rifle rounds on it and just see how much damage they do. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first gun I'm going to be using is my Beretta Neo. I've got 6 rounds loaded, 22 long rifle. This happens to be a hollow point 22 long rifle that I've had for a while. I'm going to put 2 rounds at each of the targets, and then we'll go up and check it and see what happens. Sorry about that. Not sure why those 2 didn't feed right, but whatever. We've solved our problem, and we'll fire the next 2. Obviously I'm having some feeding issues, so we're going to go ahead and solve this in a minute here. Okay, so for the 22 long rifle on the plywood test, you have 2 entrance wounds right there, nice and close to each other. 2 exits right there. 2 entrances right here, so it's going to do the second layer pretty easily. You can see they're starting to tumble a little bit. There's a lot more damage coming on that side. However, they both did strike the plywood here on this side and get through. You see that one's probably going sideways. It's been massively disformed. And they did both manage to exit on the 3rd sheet. However, I think one of them impacted here, and I don't think the other one even made it to the 4th sheet of plywood. So you've got 22 long rifle, definitely penetrated 3 sheets of plywood. Not the 4th or the 5th, which is back there though. Now as far as the wall test, we have 2 entrance wounds right here in the center. We have 2 exits on there. We've got definitely some sheetrock dust there, and we have chunks of the bullet there. You do not have penetration on the second layer of plywood though. So this extra layer of plywood so quickly right after the first one, and with the metal siding, definitely provides a good bit of protection against obviously a 22. Once again, you have, I only fired one at this one because I was having that misfeed. So you have entrance mark there, exit over here on the back you can see, and you have no entry at all on the sheetrock back there. I'm not sure where that one impacted. I can't feel anything on it at all. That 22 round must have not gone anywhere. A little odd, but interesting. All right, next we're gonna fire the my 380 Beretta. Nice little gun. I really enjoy shooting it. And we're gonna fire 2 rounds at each once again, and we're gonna see how the penetration goes on it. Just firing standard full metal jacket. All right, so let's go ahead and check that. All right, so impacts right there. First sheet of plywood. Nice exits. Once again, 2 impacts right there on the plywood. I think you're starting to get a little movement out of those bullets now. Nope, they're still going pretty straight. They're still pretty close together right there. Still pretty close together on the 4th sheet, and on the 5th sheet we've got a little bit of movement on them. They're starting to separate a little. They exited 5 sheets and impacted my backstop. So a 380 will penetrate 5 sheets of plywood without too much trouble. As far as the siding and the wall impact now, you got the larger impacts there. Once again, a couple holes coming out of the sheetrock. Got impact on the first sheet of plywood. Some nice exits. Did not penetrate the second sheet of plywood though, which is a tad thicker piece. Neither one of them exited. There's no exit, so probably the difference in the steel siding made a difference, but instead of penetrating 5 full sheets of OSB/plywood, this one only went through 3 and then stopped on the last sheet of plywood there. On the one without the extra sheet, once again you've got impacts. You've got exits. You've got a larger impact on that one. Exits. I see an exit, but I don't see an impact on the last sheet. So the bullet might have started to tumble a little bit and moved off and just hit the backstop itself, but I'm not seeing the impact back there. Alright, next I will be shooting full metal jacket 9mm from a Stoger STR9, and we'll see how those penetrate. Okay, I marked, I got 2 9mm impacts there. Exits, of course. One there for the 9. One right there for the 9. I marked the other ones with marker too, so I could tell which ones were hitting. Once again, there, and then here, and here, and then the 9mm made it all the way to that final sheet, which, like I said, is a little bit higher quality veneered, but it still exited. So 5 sheets, well, 4 of OSB and 1 of standard plywood will not stop a jacketed 9mm. Now let's see what the different materials, what difference that makes. So we've got impacts, I think there, and probably that one. Exits, of course. Impacts right there. Nice exits. Now nothing else has penetrated this last sheet until now. Yep, she came through, but it didn't go in very far. You can see the 9mm round sitting right there. So it will go through that jacketed hollow point. Even with the extra layer of 1/2 inch OSB, it will not slow it down too much. Same thing without the extra one. You've got impact, exit, impact again right there. Nice exits, and then impact and exit over here. So far the 22 and the 380 were stopped after a few layers, but the 9mm jacketed hollow point, that full metal jacket, did not stop. I think we'll go ahead and we'll test a hollow point 9mm on it now, just for curiosity. I changed my mind. We're going to go ahead and shoot the 38 special at it first, and then we'll see where we're at from there. We'll probably go to the 9mm hollow point. Okay, so you can see we got 2 impacts here from the 38. 2 per clean exits. Once again, I marked the first two right there, 38. 38 on the 3rd layer. 38 on the 4th layer, and you can see that actually one of them started moving now. And they both started to tumble, and I know that because you've got a round right there stuck in the last layer, and a round right there stuck in the last layer as they tumbled and impacted. Let's see here. I should have started marking some of these impacts here. Some of these are blending together on these walls now. Tore that up pretty good. I think this is it right here. And right here are the 38 hits. Through, and yeah, they exited back here, but I don't think they went into the backstop. I think they dropped. Yep, there's one right there in the ground. Let's see how much damage was done to it. There's that 38 special. She didn't deform much at all. Pretty much kept its shape through 1, 2, well, 5/8, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch again, and then a 3/4 almost standard plywood. Kept its shape the whole time. Once again, you got a couple impacts, exits, impact, exit. This time they tore through on this one. This is a little bit lighter sheet of plywood back here. And this time they actually went into the backstop a little bit. Oh, and there's one right there on the ground again. You can see it right there. Let's see if it deformed at all. You can see the impact right on the corner of it there. So it had started, it hit something hard, probably that last layer from the oak, but it tore through the wall and the plywood. All right, my last test will be with one of your standard jacketed hollow point for the 9mm. Once again, fired with the Stoger, and we'll see what happens with a round that's designed to spread out and you know, cause more damage on the impact. All right, last test, 9mm hollow point. And double feed. So initial impact right there, right there. Exit. Initial impact, she's still pretty flat and going through. Still pretty flat and going through those. Got the impact. One of them started to move there. He must have got you see they've started to widen out big time. I think one of them turned too. I bet he's in there somewhere. And definitely hit the backstop. Not with a huge amount of force though, because it didn't do a ton of damage. But it made it through all of them, even with the hollow point mushrooming out. So now we got the impact on the steel siding. Exits up here. Impact there and over there on the edge. Exits, impact there. And, good size. Sorry, I just knocked over my wall section. Good size exit right there, and an impact on the backstop. I don't see anything on the ground, so it definitely went in. Same thing over here. We got, oop, looks like I was a little off. We got a partial impact there. The other one right here. Exits right here. They must have really started to turn on this one. They must have drifted in. Maybe it's these two. Yeah, it's hard to tell where them last two went. Might have been that one there. Yeah, they definitely went through. Well, that's interesting. I had assumed that the rounds would lose some energy and slow down a little faster than they seem to with the layers of OSB. It might be interesting one of these days. I may do another one with the OSB all together and see how the penetration is when the layers are right on top of each other. See if that makes a difference. But until then, I was originally going to say that extra layer of plywood may be helpful to help protect people in their houses, and it looks like I am wrong. So it would not be worth the money. Those rounds would still penetrate. All right, thanks for watching. We'll see you later. I got another interesting video planned for in about 2 weeks, and I'll see you then. This is Matt out.